Welcome back to Comics with Drew. I'm Drew, and today is a unboxing video. It's an unboxing video of an independent comic book. Now, recently, in the past couple of days, I've heard someone describe me as a guy that looks into comics and reads mainly mainstream comics and doesn't really pay attention or review comic skate books or indie books or Kickstarter books or whatever. That is not true. I have tons of independent indie books and stuff like that. So I just haven't gotten around to reviewing a lot of them for a bunch of different reasons. But, I like to really get in depth with them. And I like to offer constructive criticism because a lot of these people aren't professionals and are just doing the best they can. So that being said, this book happens to be Ultimate Crusaders by Justice Wright. And it is well over a year late. It's like a year and a half late. Now, I could say, well, this is terrible. And by the way, it's not... It's as I like to say, suboptimal. This book, I was actually the very first person to back it on the campaign, and I backed it for $10 and shipping was $3. So, I mean, that's an absolute steal when it comes to independent comic books. Nobody charges $3 for shipping, but Justice did. So speaking of Justice, he is not on any kind of social media that I'm aware of. So I've not been able to follow him, see updates on a regular basis other than the updates to the campaign, which is fair. You can run your campaign that way if you want. But, when I backed this book, I thought the book was almost done. It looked like it was almost done. It said it's based upon a property or cartoon from the 90s or whatnot. So I didn't know anything about it. I just walked into it, said, this looks good. This looks like it's almost done, and I'm going to back it. And it was only $10. So now that being said, it is well over 700 days late. It came last week, so it's May 2022, and I backed this in April of 2020. And so I looked at it and I said, if I had taken those $13 and put them in Bitcoin, what would that be? That would be around $74 the day I received the book. So this is almost like I bought a $74 book last week. Is it worth $74? I don't know. Now, don't come at me with this, oh, well, you're backing the artist and you're not trying to actually buy something. And yeah, you are buying something, okay? Let's be real. Let's not play these semantics. You are buying a book. Yes, you are supporting the artist, but the artist is promising a product. And the product should be delivered on a timely basis. And it doesn't seem like there are a lot of earth-shattering reasons to why this book was late, other than the fact that it just wasn't ready to go when the campaign was closed. So I'm going to open this right now and give you my first impressions, and then I'm going to review the book in the same video. So it will be a, well, I'm back after having reviewed it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and open up Ultimate Crusaders by Justice Wright and see what we got here. So obviously this is a great mailer, by the way. This is actually a nice sturdy mailer. This is the kind of mailer that you should send these things in. If it's not, I don't know, is this a Gemini? It is a Gemini mailer. Gemini mailers are the gold standard. So if you are doing crowdfunding books, invest in Gemini mailers. I know the shipping was $3. So I know that there's a lot of shipping and a lot of supplies that got taken out of the money that was raised for this book. But anyway, here we go. And here we go with Ultimate Crusaders. Man, this looks fantastic. So we've got Justice Wright, Ed Jimenez, and Dominic, Ozirin. Why do I keep reviewing books of people that I can't pronounce their names? I need to really look into this and do some more research. As you can see, it's only one copy of the book. There weren't really any stretch goals that were reached in this campaign. And, honestly, I think one of the reasons why is because there didn't seem to be much of a campaign. I mean, the campaign was there, and I saw that he had tweeted it, and I replied to the tweet, and I went and checked the link out and backed the campaign there. But he wasn't on any streams. He wasn't on any of the regular shows you might see. So there was very, very little of marketing that you would typically expect for a crowdfunding launch, a successful one. But here we go. The book is done, and I will say it looks fantastic. So there's nothing in the back here. This is kind of weird. It's in the bag and board backwards. All right, so we have a very nice kind of matte cover here, and the back looks great, and it's a beautiful cover. This is the kind of stuff that you would expect in a regular comic book that you might pick up on a shelf in a comic shop. It is a little bit thicker. It's not like a typical floppy. I mean, it's a floppy technically, but it's sturdier than the offerings by the big two these days. So let's take a look inside. All right, the Ultimate Crusaders, writer Justice Wright, editor Irakpo Peter, we have an editor. Okay, so something that a lot of crowdfunded books have been lacking recently is an editor. So the fact that they actually have one here, that means that this book should have a higher standard of editing. The story should be tightly paced. There shouldn't be any typos. The art should be expressive and working with the dialogue. So that's usually what an editor can bring here for you. So we got our penciler and inker is Dominic, colorist is Robert Nix. We have a second colorist, and we have a cover artist for cover number 1 and cover 2 and 3. And oh, Justice Wright actually lettered the book. So that's nice. You don't really see that oftentimes. So we have chapter 1, The Orb. As you can see, we're gonna flip through a couple pages here. So the book looks fantastic. It looks professional. So yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a read through real quick here, and then I'll be right back with my impressions. And now we're back. So The Ultimate Crusaders is a very well-produced book. So the colors are pretty good. They're not spectacular, but they are professional. And the art is also very professional. So it's not something that is really exotic or really going to turn your head. It's very straightforward, and it's boring in a way, and it's boring in that it's good. So, you know, when you buy like, I don't know, a Toyota Camry, it's a boring car, but it's a competent car and it's a professional car, and you know it's gonna do what you need for it to do. And The Ultimate Crusaders doesn't really tell us much about why these characters are the Ultimate Crusaders, but it does give us a fairly straightforward comic book. There are a couple different typos. There's a situation where there's a character named Dr. Isley. The I in his last name sometimes is serifed, sometimes it's not serifed. So that's a lettering issue, and Justice should know better about that, but I'm sure he'll correct that for new books. So it's a quick read, it's 36 pages, and there's not really a lot that goes on. We have Orion Williams, he is our primary protagonist, and we have his friend Claire, who does not have a last name, according to this book anyway. Then we have some aliens that aren't really explained, and I don't even know who this character actually is. To be perfectly honest with you, that's a real problem. So this character, does this character even show up in the book? All right, this character actually does appear in the book, but not till the very, very last page. And I don't think he even has any dialogue. So it's a start for a book. And here's my problem is that I've waited 1.5 years for this book. And in the back cover, the interior back cover, Wright does talk about how it's been a long time and he's really sorry that it's taken so long, and he wants to get the next book into your hands as soon as possible. I don't know if I'm gonna wait for that. So he'll do probably another crowdfund, and I'm sure people will back it. But this will probably be one of those situations where I don't back it initially and I just wait, because 1.5 years is a really, really long time. Now, I understand it's only $13, but still, you should have a book ready. And especially the way that the campaign appeared to be set up, it looked like we had an established intellectual property. We don't really know much about these characters. Orion is this boy genius inventor, and Claire is like his mechanic engineer person that assists him, and she's got a prosthetic arm that he designed. But we don't know much about anything other than we're missing his dad. He's trying to build this space mecha suit, and then some orb shows up and he's trying to hide it. And there's not really a lot of plot development that goes on. So I know that this is Justice's first book and it's his first attempt at writing, and that's great and all. And like I said, the production quality is really, really, really high level. The book's story, though, there's just not enough of it to really draw you in. It's kind of paint by numbers, and it doesn't really grab you. So we don't know. I think what it ultimately is that we don't know why we should care about these characters. So the dialogue and the story is kind of like, you're kind of expected to know the characters and have emotional investment in the characters, but it's like, oh, this is Orion and this is Claire, and now they're going to do a little bit of an adventure kind of thing. And maybe that's what Justice is looking for. I don't know. But as, some kind of must read, I can't really say it's a must read comic book. It's a really well made comic book, but some of the things kind of outweigh whether or not it's something that kind of like reaches that next level. I hope Justice makes a new book, and I hope it gets out faster. And it actually might be better if we had more story, but I mean, this is 36 pages. There's nothing that's a real big surprise twist and turn here. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, but you don't really have any kind of investment in it. And what I would have liked to see is maybe a little bit more of a backstory for these characters, a little bit more why these characters are unique, other than boy genius inventor, girl with mechanical arm, and they go to school. So there's not, I don't know, why are they friends? Why are they really friends? How did he decide that he was going to make her arm for her? Maybe some more backstory about his dad, what happened with his dad. See, that would probably be better, since they kind of just gloss over what happened with his dad, because he says, this is what happened to my dad, and now I'm going to make a space mech suit to go find him. Why does he need to make a space mech suit? Why does he think that that's going to help him find his dad? I think maybe a bit of a prologue kind of explaining what happened with his dad would have given us more of a compelling reason to follow Orion. It's kind of the situation where, the character has everything that he needs. There's no character development. There's just not enough time for it because the book moves like this. So it's got great pace, but I think there needs to be a little bit more meat on the bones for the story. And that's why I would probably give Ultimate Crusaders maybe a 2.5 out of 5 stars. So it's not a bad book. It's just not a great book. Actually, I'm going to bump that up to 3 stars because, to be perfectly honest with you, this is really nice quality just for the production and the printing. Obviously, they got really good art here. Ed Jimenez does really great work as far as the coloring is really solid. It's not spectacular, but it's maintained all the way throughout with a really good quality to it. That's really all I have to say about it. So again, I don't know much about the Ultimate Crusaders. I thought that this was another IP that was already existing, but apparently it's not. This looks like it might be the first example of any kind of Ultimate Crusaders thing. By the way, I don't even know why they're called the Ultimate Crusaders. So it's kind of tough when you get a book and you read the first issue and you have no idea why it's called what it's called. And then you have a cover character who's not even really into the book until the very last page. So, this book kind of says, look, I've got little Dr. Robotnik here and Penny from Inspector Gadget, and then we've got somebody from like the New Mutants or something. So I don't really see the story that this cover is actually showing us, but it is what it is. So good job, Justice Wright, for making a book that is a competently put together book, but hopefully in the next books we'll have a little bit more of an understanding of why the characters are doing what they're doing, what their motivations are, where their parents are. So we have both of these characters' mothers show up at the last minute, and we don't know anything about what they're doing. And mainly after there's a gigantic explosion and his mom seems to kind of blow it off. We don't see really any fallout from that event, and that would probably have been kind of helpful. Again, I don't know if Justice is even going to see this video. He's not on Twitter that I can see, and I don't think he has any kind of a YouTube presence. So I hope he does start having those things so he can get the word out more about the book and kind of share with people, why we should be interested in his story. So that being said, The Ultimate Crusaders, is it a $74 book as far as last week is concerned? No, it's not. Is it a $13 crowdfunding book? Yeah, no, I think this is a really good deal for $13. That's something I want to also point out. The fact that this book only costs $13 is pretty shocking. So it is a real high indictment of people who put out books that are, quite frankly, not nearly the kind of quality that this book has from a production and printing standpoint. That's a bit of a game changer in my opinion. Ultimately, The Ultimate Crusaders is a 3-star book, and if Wright launches a campaign for the sequel to this book or the second book in this series, and it's pretty much entirely done, then I'll be more inclined to back it. But if it's not, I'm not going to wait 1.5 years. I'm just not. I'm going to wait till the book is done, and if there's extra copies, I'm going to buy it at that time. I'm just going to be real. So anyway, The Ultimate Crusaders, 3 stars, Justice Wright, Ed Jimenez, and thanks for watching Comics with Drew. I'm Drew, and I'll catch you next time.